everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And today we are talking about reading and books. And this is another one of our romance reading wrap ups that we do every month. And I look forward to it every month. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Bree's here.
Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. This is my first
Yes.
time on the podcast this year.
Oh my
Hello.
gosh.
I know I've missed talking to you.
No, me too.
I mean,
I,
we chat
yeah.
every day, but it's different.
No, it really is. And I do look forward to it. I mean, people might think that after I've been doing this podcast since 2017 that it would be kind of boring and, old hat. No, not really.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely find ways to, I think, keep it fresh. So, yeah.
I try, and we always look forward to your suggestions too. If you have any ideas of what we can talk about and what we should do, please let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, we had a fun month of reading after the barrage of holidays.
I'm not going to lie, I'm still a little burnt out from the holidays, and I didn't even watch all of the movies. I
Yeah.
mean, just I think I'm still on that, I still wish it was Christmas high. So I have not watched any of the New Year's movies. I'm secretly plotting for Christmas in July where I can watch the movies I didn't watch during the countdown. I'm in a weird space. January is
Yeah.
always weird, but then February comes and I love the Valentine's Day movies. So, I
Yeah.
gotta get it in gear.
Lovey-wary. Or
Yeah.
how do you feel about Lovey-wary?
What was it last year? Was that it?
It was last year. It was Love Ever After.
I like that better.
Yeah. I mean, no question. I mean, I get it that Lovey-wary is maybe more memorable or memeable, maybe, but come on, it's so weird. But I mean, I don't know what was wrong with it. Wasn't it just it was well, the problem with Countdown to Valentine's is that because Valentine's Day is in the middle of the month.
And
I think that
February's so short.
so you can't do Countdown.
Yeah, you get 2 movies and then
But I don't think anyone took it that literally. I mean,
no.
come on, Hallmark.
Bring back Love Ever After. If anyone at Hallmark,
Yeah.
in the big seat at the top is listening, please bring back Love Ever After.
Yeah. I hope people are in Hallmark are listening. I feel like sometimes they do because you'll hear things or things they'll do things and I'm like, we talked about that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, even the I mean, not that we were the only people that wanted a sequel to Nine Lives of Christmas, but we had a freaking t-shirt.
Right. Well, I hope somebody up there is listening because look, here's my pickle, and this is, I think, the reason why I have not watched any of the movies so far this year. Um, where's the diversity, people? Come on.
Yeah.
I've been really disappointed. You get a mixed bag during Countdown to Christmas. I mean, everything from LGBTQ, people of color. I mean, we have an autistic child movie. They
Yeah.
really bring it, and then it feels like you take 15 steps back in the new year. And one of my friends
Yeah.
and I had messaged her, and I was like, "What do you think?" And she's like, "I feel like we're trying to win back some of our GAC audience with this move." And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna hate on that opinion right now.
Yeah, I can see it. And also another weird thing, getting back to this kind of the book world, is there's no Hallmark publishing coming out.
Yeah,
I
right.
was
Yeah,
looking to see. I figured they'd have one book for Valentine's. Nothing.
it's gonna be a
Nothing.
while. I think we get the mystery you and I read. We get the book 2 for that. I know Amanda Flower has another one coming out, and I feel like I saw 2 more, but they're later in the year, I
Yeah.
believe. So,
There's some announcements, and they even announced Lizzie Shane's book, but that's not until 2023.
yep, I saw that online. I was like, "What?
So
We
I was like,
just
oh,
hit
maybe
2022."
yeah. I'm like, oh, we could maybe pick that for the February book. And I'm like, oh, nope, not for
Yeah.
another year. So I don't know what's going on there.
So it's interesting because when I saw the lineup for the New Year's movies, my first thing is like, okay, which one of these is based off a book? And The Wedding Veil, I found so I thought, because Christy Woodson Harvey has a book called The Wedding Veil, I believe
Yeah.
it's called, coming out. I thought it was already out, and I'm like, oh, this has to be it. But I did a
Mhm.
little bit of digging. I'm like, okay, this book hasn't even come out yet, so this is not it. And so then I find this Long Tall Texan by Lori Wilde, and I'm like, whoo, who at Hallmark read this? But
Yeah,
then you
it's
see the
the
old
cover.
cover. Yeah, the old cover, the old title, which I put on Goodreads. I was like, why did this cover and title have to change? I don't know, because I actually prefer the old title and cover. But yeah, it was interesting. Like who made that decision?
Well, the Long Tall Texan cover is very deceptive because
Very.
it shows a lot of skin and there's none in the book.
No. And I mean, he's not even really a cowboy. And it's like kind of looks like
Yeah,
this
he's a
cowboy
detective.
romance.
He's a detective. And yeah, there's no spice hardly at all in this book.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because it is one of those stories where she is technically in a relationship for the majority of it with someone else.
Yeah. So it's either called Long Tall Texan by Lori Wilde or There Goes the Bride, as you said.
Mhm.
And I wrote up a little summary because the summary on the book is a million words long.
Okay.
So here we go. It's Delaney Cartwright is engaged to her best friend Evan, but the spark isn't there. Her mother, Honey, insists on the marriage, but she has a whole backstory of her own behind her old fashioned views. When she finds an antique wedding veil, Delaney starts to fantasize about a long, tall Texan. And before she knows, she meets the swoon worthy detective Nick Vanetti. Nick has sworn off relationships since his ex wife left him, but the more he is with Delaney, the more he wonders if maybe he could be the marrying kind again. Will Delaney keep her promise to fiance Evan or run into the arms of the handsome Nick?
Will she?
I feel like that was a pretty good job
Yeah.
for me.
You did good.
Thank you. Because there's a lot going on in this book.
A lot. A
Yeah.
lot that you don't really know is even happening until you reach a certain point, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, overall, what did you think of the book?
So I rated it a 3 star on Goodreads for now, just because it felt like whiplash. I think after like the halfway point, I was like, whoa, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And I think I have to sit with that for a while because I honestly feel like I could bump it up to a 4 star because even though it was a lot going on, I feel like she tied everything up nicely at the end. But they're still just like, wow, if you go into this expecting a certain thing, it could either be a good thing or a bad thing that there's so much else that happens, you know?
Yeah, I also gave it 3 stars on Goodreads, and we'll have our Goodreads links in the description if anybody wants to follow us on there. Uh, it it was all right.
Yeah.
I guess my main problem with it was I just didn't really love the characters that much.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But it was okay. The story was fine.
So
There is a
I think
lot
you
going
gotta okay, so Delaney, right,
on.
is
Mhm.
essentially this rich Texas, almost Texas royalty. Is she like an oil heir? She's like an oil heiress. Her dad's family, something
Something
with her
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
something with her dad, and I don't wanna spoil it, but her mom, quote unquote, comes from money as well.
Yeah.
Uh, so
I
she's like
think it's hard as a modern reader when you have characters like Delaney that
yes,
are so insecure, so easily controlled by other people.
yes.
Uh, it's just there are people that exist that way and it is a real character. I understand that, but I don't know, like it's just you just want them to be more empowered.
Assertive. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, she comes from that world of like very rich. Delaney will be fine, but very like her mom is setting her up. Well, she's engaged to Evan and they've been friends forever. It's comfortable. It's the right choice. It's the safe choice. Um and her mom is very adamant like her mom's on like always been on her about her weight and just making sure she's perfect. And she did lose her sister, so I
Yeah.
think a little bit of it comes from that, but there's also just that like we're high class society, we have an image to it. Like her mom is like that typical rich southern mama like
Mhm.
caricature that I feel like we see in these movies. And it like you said, it's hard to read sometimes because you're like, "Come on, Delaney, just stick you're a grown ass woman. Like
Yeah.
tell her to you know, golly, stick up for yourself."
Yeah, and, it's interesting because if you think about a movie like Sweet Home Alabama, and that movie has its flaws, but the thing I guess I like about that movie is that, like, both of the romantic options are pretty valid, and
Yeah.
she has chemistry with both, and she could pick either one. It's not between a bad man of business, and the obvious right guy. Like, both of them are good guys, and
Mhm.
so it's kind of just about who she's more in love with, which makes for a good romance, I think. And in this case with Evan, he was just so not a believable rival from the very
Right.
beginning, and there was
Right.
no chemistry. Uh, that I just think it would have been way more like interesting if she was kind of in love with Evan, but then now there's this other option that is there. And I mean, I guess, when you have that, then you end up maybe feeling too bad for Evan, and then that makes the story hard. But I don't know, I just think it would have been there if there had been a bit of more of like a tit for tat, between the two options, it might have been
Yeah.
better. But
I do think that's a downfall. Like if you're gonna give us a love triangle-ish type situation, I feel like the stakes feel so much higher if both of the choices are good choices. I mean, and
yeah.
is Evan like a terrible choice? No, but at the beginning of the book, he literally goes to what, like Guatemala? He's like a doctor.
Yeah.
So he's in a profession where, work is going to take priority for him. And we see just how much of a backseat she may potentially have to take because he's not even physically there while the story is going on.
Yeah, right before your wedding, it seems like a odd choice, and then
Yeah.
also, uh, not having sex for 6 months.
Right.
Like, if it's a religious thing
That's
in
one thing.
you,
Yeah.
then I understand totally. Um, but that didn't seem to be the case. And I've heard of people 2 weeks before, a month before, 6 months. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Which I mean in their case, it should be easy because like he's going to be gone for a lot of it. So, I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah, very weird. I
What did
would
you think of the way that it started? Cuz it starts off with like a kidnapping.
Yeah, well, and then the kidnapping at the with the wedding.
Yeah.
Um, it it was I don't know.
An attempt at situational comedy.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminded me, it's not a kidnapping, but it kind of reminded me in The Graduate, the when they have they they run off from the wedding with the um and then are in the bus, and then they look at each other. But I am curious about this. Have you ever heard in movies all the and books, you all the time see people leaving each other at the altar? I have
Yeah.
never heard of that actually happening
In real life,
in
I
real life
know.
ever.
I know.
I'm sure it has, but I don't know. It's just so funny because it's something that happens all the time. You think it?
Yeah. It is
It's
a
fine.
beloved romance
Yeah.
trope. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this one did have a lot of tropes. You've got like the leaving at the altar, the forced marriage, the forbidden romance.
I feel like kind of small town, but I also don't really know where they lived. I mean, you hear of them going to like Galveston and stuff, so I'm assuming somewhere between like Galveston and Houston
Yeah,
somewhere.
this is set in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, so, oh my gosh, what yeah, it was really trope heavy, and then, like, it was light, it was, like, paranormal light because her dead sister, like, she sees her dead sister in
Oh, yeah.
dreams,
That was intense.
it's got, like, familial secrets, like, I did not see that coming. It's got a lot.
Yeah, and
We'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
yeah, what did you think about everything with Honey?
I did not see that coming, honestly. I mean, I thought it was interesting when she sees her mom in Galveston and she's, scenes later, her mom comes in, her mom knows she saw her, and her mom's like, I'm gonna lie my way through this. And I did like that she's like, I don't believe you. I don't believe that I did not see. Like, you're trying to persuade me I didn't see you, and I know I did. I just Oh gosh, when the reveal happens at the end, like when we learn why her mom's being blackmailed, I was just like, this is a little far-fetched. I would have liked that to have been something else.
The thing about the mistaken identity or stolen identity
Mhm.
theft
Mhm.
is, I think it was a kind of a fun gotcha sort of a thing. The thing part about it I didn't like was the fact that Jim Bob forgave her so fast. Her
Yeah,
husband.
her husband.
I'm
Yeah.
like, are you kidding me? I mean, I would struggle if somebody had been lying to me my entire marriage.
My entire marriage. Yep. Yep. Because you didn't give him the option or the choice of like, do I want to be with the real you?
Yeah.
In the beginning. Yeah. Especially because she had really been putting him through a lot, I think, emotionally, like in their marriage. Just, I don't know, she was trying to be that high society person and was really like neglecting their relationship
Yeah.
together. And I mean, Delaney even tells her about it, like you make him miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he did forgive her a little too quickly for me, but
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah. That was my only real problem with it. I mean, and if I were Delaney, I would be major upset at my mother about that.
I thought it was kind of fun that like she sees her dead sister, listeners, in her dreams, and her sister died at 16, so she's literally still like a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And it's like, however her sister shows up to her, it's how Delaney imagines her. So like, there's a scene where she's like on roller skates. Like with like a concert t-shirt on or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was kind of fun. I was like, okay, what are you here to do? And I felt like we got to know Delaney a lot from those scenes with her sister, but I was also like, I was not expecting this to be kind of paranormal-ish. I'm a little weirded out.
Yeah.
I mean, and never mind the fact that like the whole story is about this wedding veil, which is what Hallmark like adapted.
Yeah. And they really didn't use the veil, the magic of the veil very much. Like, it's not, I feel like they could have used that more.
Done it more, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she dropped a lot of cash for that thing.
Yeah, $10,000.
$10,000.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
lady's like, "You would pay that much for a veil?" And her friend's like, "Oh, she's a millionaire heiress or whatever. It's fine. She can spend her money on however she wants." I'm like,
like
"Okay."
even Kleinfeld's, that would be a lot for a veil.
Yeah.
$10,000. Be like, what?
Okay, so you watched the movie. Tell me the differences. I mean, I'm assuming it's a lot. I'm assuming it's a lot, Rachel.
Pretty much the only similarity is that there's a tall other guy in the work,
Okay. And a
he's
wedding
not even a
veil?
Texan. Like, it's not even Kevin McGarry isn't even a Texan. But everything else is different. Even her name is different. In the movie, her name is Avery. In this, it's Delaney. There's she's an art dealer in the movie. And
So
that's
not like
how
staging houses.
yeah, in so she's like looking for a piece of art. That's how she meets Kevin McGarry. And they like hit it off. So and then she finds the veil with her two friends. And she buys it. And yeah, I it's one that I don't remember all that much because I was kind of bored and I just wasn't that
I remember getting your message on the chat and I was like, "Yep, I'm just glad that I have this recorded and saved. I'll get to it when I get to it." You know what? I saw that movie or the preview and I was like, people are going to watch this because it's 3 really big stars and I love each of them individually, but I'm like, that does
yeah.
not mean that the movie is going to be good. And I also just felt like these are friends, like they're not related to each other. I'm like, why couldn't this have been Lacey, maybe Rukia, I don't know,
Yeah.
Alexa, De Vega. Like I just wanted that friendship to look different than what it did. So I was like, I have not budged to watch it yet.
Yeah, I can understand that. I think they might have run into a little bit of bad luck because some of those people. I mean, I don't know about Alexa, but Rakia's pretty busy with Yellow Jackets and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But so they might have run into some bad luck in as far as some of their go tos. But there's plenty of diverse talent that you can
Yeah.
get, and they do have a movie in March with a whole black cast coming, which looks the
The one you sent me that you was sent in the chat the other day.
yeah. I mean, I love the cast, but it looks like kind of a downer, another marriage in crisis story. And I it's funny because when they first started doing those, I was like, this is so refreshing, this is so different. And now I'm kind of over them.
Yeah. Yeah. You
I
don't want to like overdo it.
I'm kind of I don't know. I just they're not my
And
favorite.
that one has like an extra storyline like I was sharing with you all when we were talking about it.
Mhm.
Like it could be a movie by itself. I feel like cuz the heroine like does something with dating and older people or something in that movie as well from the
Mhm.
sounds of it.
Yeah.
I just think Hallmark, I mean, I know that we're all about the happy ever afters, and as a romance lover, I love that. However, I feel like we should lean in to those like women's fiction stories and just embrace it because that storyline sounds fun all by itself.
Yeah, I can see that, and it can be done well. I don't know, just a lot of times those kind of stories are sort of boring to me.
Yeah,
I just like my light, fluffy rom-coms, and
me too. Because
um,
when you're already the already married stories and like the chemistry's already there. Part of the rom-coms is like they either like hate each other and like we're
yeah,
waiting for that buildup of the chemistry to happen. So
yeah, like I really enjoyed the Hating Game that just came out, and both book and movie. I mean, I finally read the book, and then the movie just came out, and that was so. It was. I mean, it wasn't that great, but it was really fun.
you
I
liked
enjoyed
it,
it.
Rachel? I haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it was really fun, and so I hope that it'd be fun to get that kind of spirit, and certainly some of our writers can do that, and they have done it, and they probably will this year. But I don't know.
Listen,
I was excited for the diversity. I was a little bit mixed
yeah,
on
the
the
execution.
story.
What's it gonna be? Right.
We'll see.
What's our girl Nina? Is it Nina Wiseman?
Yeah, Nina Weinman.
Let Nina write. Let Elise Murray write.
Yeah.
Elise Murray's movie.
Julie Sherman Wolfe.
Yes.
Tracy Dandrine. Incredible. I mean, we've got so many incredible writers. But as far as the first Wedding Veil movie, I mean, I love Lacey. She's great. It was just a little slow. I mean, and you have to have Kevin McGarry with that accent. He was like halfway Boston. Like, what is this weird accent? But he's so handsome in the movie. I mean, he is so good looking in that film, even for him. Whew, he was great.
Here's my question for you. Do you need to? Does it need? At what point is it not really an adaptation when you literally just took like one piece of the story
Yeah.
and adapted the film? Because it's totally, from what it sounds like, from your experience you shared, the movie and the book mirror each other in no kind of way other than like there's a wedding veil.
Yeah, there's a magic veil, and she has, her group of friends in the book as well. And you got the other, like, you got a hot guy.
Yeah. Because I mean, when we decided to read it, I don't know if it's changed because I haven't checked, but I mean, I was looking up Lori Wilde and I'm like, she's not posting about this.
Yeah.
Hallmark really didn't like allude to this, being adapted from the book. So I was like, okay, they're probably going to change a lot.
So did you think that in the book, did you think that Nick and Nalini had a spark? Did you think that part worked?
It grew on me.
Yeah.
But you know how I am, especially with the movies. When they're in a relationship with someone else, I'm just like, this is a little weird. Eventually, it did grow on me the more that they spent time together, but that was still hanging over my head. And the fact that he doesn't come for money and he's worried about fitting into her world, and I'm not going to fit into her world. So it took some time, but eventually I was like, okay, he is the obvious choice. He's the person you have fun with and all of that. And again, like you said, Evan's not even in the picture, so we really don't get to know why it wouldn't work with Evan other than the fact that like he's the safe choice.
Yeah. Yeah, you almost feel like, I don't know, that is Evan trying to, I guess he's secretly gay. You know what I mean? Is there something that, like, why is he doing this? Like, what does it benefit? I guess aside from being related to a wealthy family, and I guess they are friends, but it's like, why? This is not 1950. Why? Why do
this
you
is one of
feel
those things
need?
where, like, in an historical romance, we wouldn't even be talking about like the why.
Yeah.
Like, this would totally make sense. It's really hard to pull that off in a contemporary because why? You can't tell just because we both have money, we have to get married. Like, we don't even like each other. So.
Yeah. It was, I guess I understood her more because she had this crazy mom, but why did he
agree to
feel
it?
a need to do it? We don't really know. But yeah, it's interesting. I think that of the three movies, I think the Autumn Reeser one is the one that looks the best, in my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, we don't know much about the Allison one.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten a trailer or I do think her and Victor Webster will have nice chemistry. That seems like a good fit to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting little experiment, I guess, that they did for the movies. The book, yeah, like you said, I gave it 3 out of 5. I mean, I guess I feel like overall, it's kind of a fun read. There's lots of surprises as you're reading. Like, whoa, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
And, whoa.
Oh, so we're being blackmailed. Okay.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Oh, there's a kidnapping again. There's How's she gonna get out of this one?
And even the kidnapping is like there's some like shenanigans with
There
that.
really is, yeah.
Right? Oh, she's kidnapped by the wrong person. Like,
Yeah.
what is going on?
This wasn't the kidnapping I had planned. So it's not an unfun read. It really it clips along and it's just some when you like finish reading it, you're kind of like, wait a minute here.
Yeah. It's a quick read. I mean, I
Yeah,
listened to
yeah.
it on Audible and I listened to it in like 3 hours. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't put it down, so that says something. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I mean, as far as spice level, there is like conversations about sex and there's like mild spice, so it's not like Hallmark
Yeah.
worthy, but it's pretty mild.
hmm
Pretty mild despite the cover.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Let's move on and talk about our reading roundup.
Yeah, you said you enjoyed one that you like really liked one. So which one was it?
Okay, well, yeah, maybe I'll start with that one. So the first one that I want to talk about is called Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This was such a fun book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a YA book about a teenager named Liz who has her mother passed away and she's just really struggled to move on. And not that you ever can completely move on, but she's really struggled with it. And even though her father has gotten remarried, and so she has there's this young man that she had a big crush on that knew her mother, and he moves back into town after he'd been gone for a long time. And so she wants to impress him and, still has a crush on him, named Mike. And she has this kind of grumpy, surly neighbor named Wes, who has always kind of like been sort of her rival in the neighborhood. He would sort of tease her and antagonize her or whatever. And and Wes, she makes a deal with him. There's this parking space that he wants that she has. She makes a deal with him that if he helps her with this relationship with Mike, that she'll give him the parking space. And so it just was so good. I loved it. I mean, it kind of has sort of friends to lovers and enemies to lovers and other fun tropes. And I really liked both of the characters. I really liked Liz. I really liked Wes. I really liked Mike. They were all very fun. And, surly teenagers are usually not my jam. But
mine either.
Her and her mother loved rom-coms. That was like the thing that they did together. And so she has this very idealistic view of romance and what it's going to be like because of all of that. And so there's a lot of winks back to tons of rom-coms, classic rom-coms, including at the beginning of every chapter. They have a quote from everything from 10 Things I Hate About You to Bridget Jones to all over. And so that was fun. Me as a movie fan, as a rom-com fan, that was also really fun. And the kiss in the movie was so good. Uh, and I just loved it. It was so good. I thought everybody had great chemistry and it was well done and it was emotional because of the whole thing with her mom. And yeah, great read. I highly recommend it. Lynn Painter. I am very excited to keep reading your books because this is the first one I've read of yours and I loved it.
Did you ever read is it called Waiting? Is it Waiting on Tom Hanks or Waiting for Tom Hanks? I can't remember, but it's by
Mm-mm.
Carrie Winfrey. Okay. I'm gonna like send you a message with books like with that
Yeah.
are kind of about the movies because I want your movie critic.
Well, it doesn't always work for me because everyone thinks I would love Austin Land, and I did not like that book or
Yeah.
movie at all.
Yeah.
I thought it totally missed the point of Jane Austen and the appeal of Jane Austen, and it was a very superficial look at Jane Austen, and I didn't like that she's practically assaulted at this place and that's treated not well. I
Mhm.
did not like that book at all. So the whole the it doesn't always work for me. It has to be
Yeah.
done right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So, but this doesn't that sound cute? Doesn't
it
that make
does.
you yeah.
Yeah, and I love that it's a young adult because then you're
Mhm.
kinda getting that rom-com fan perspective from
Yeah.
a teenager,
Yeah.
which I feel like rom-coms had a moment, like, before, obviously, teens these days would have
Yeah.
experienced, so,
And they
yeah.
bring in some modern ones too, like there's To All the Boys I've Loved Before that's in there, like
Oh,
so
that's
it's not
adorable.
just kind of classics.
Yeah. I
It's
loved
it
those 3 movies. Did you watch those?
oh yeah, I love them
Aren't they
too.
adorable?
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and Noah Centineo, he is just
He
great.
is a very gorgeous specimen to look at, which I feel very cringe for saying because
No,
I'm, in
he
my
is
30s.
and charming.
Yes.
He's so charming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, did you see that you probably did because you're like into all the movie stuff. Kitty's getting a movie, Rachel.
Oh yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
I am a little stoked for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
That was really
my
cool.
my first one is a debut. So Jenny Hale has Harpeth Road, her publishing house. And one of her authors is Emma Linden. So I had the opportunity to read her book, The Holiday Plan, which is a Valentine's Day romance. And I want more Valentine's Day romances. I feel like that's another holiday that kind of gets skimped over a little bit. Um, and it's about a romance novelist who goes to like a hotel for a writing retreat. She hates Valentine's Day. You will find out literally in the first chapter as to why. And lo and behold, there's this like dating coach there, and this guy loves Valentine's Day. And she's like, oh my gosh, what did I like walk into? So her plan is to avoid them at all costs. But her agent's like, you might want to like join in and participate. That would be a good opportunity for research, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a lot of like close proximity, kind of working together, and it was really sweet. There's some family stuff that goes on. It's sweet. There's no steam in it whatsoever. And I just kind of flew through it and I was like, man, I really love books set during this time because I feel like you don't get a lot of winter stories that
Mhm.
aren't Christmas.
Mhm.
So it was really, really refreshing. It just came out, listeners. So, like, get on Amazon, order your copy. It
Yeah,
was
we'll put a
fantastic.
link. We'll
Yeah.
put a link. And what's it called again?
It's called The Holiday Plan by
Mm.
Emma Linden.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I agree. I like sort of the post Christmas books sometimes when they get a chance. That you don't see them that often.
Mhm.
Well, my next choice is actually a Christmas book, but it's a kind of a light Christmas book. It's not heavy on the Christmas. It's called The Mishap by Noelle Adams. And it was a pretty fun story. It is on the spicy side. So if you're looking for that. But it's about this woman who kind of allows herself to have this sort of week long fling when she goes on vacation to the ski lodge. And they sort of agree that they're not going, it's just going to be this one time thing. And then they go a whole year and she just can't stop thinking about him. And then he shows up again at her town, and he has a daughter, and all this kind of stuff. And he was recovering from his wife passing away, and then so that's why he wasn't, he just wanted to be casual. But are things gonna be casual again? And now suddenly he's got this daughter. Anyway, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
I just Googled it. I was like, I need to know what it's part of a series called Bad Bridesmaids, Rachel.
I know.
And I looked, I was like, oh, I have book 1 on my Kindle called The Mistake.
Oh no. It is on the spicy side.
Okay.
It
okay.
is. But
The covers
I
look
liked
so
it.
fun. I love
Yeah.
Kindle Unlimited rom-coms. So
Yes. And I have to say that Kindle has been doing, I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to any of them, or to read any of them, I should say, that Kindle has been doing these serials, episodic
okay.
books, and which is kind of fun. And I've been reading one called The Marriage Auction, which is kind of like a dystopian, a little bit kind of a thing. And I've been enjoying it. I'm on I just finished episode 7. But yeah, like every week a new episode comes out. They call it their stories.
Okay.
Read the latest from the Kindle Vella stories you follow. Have you seen
I've been
this?
getting emails. Yeah, I've been getting emails about it, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Kindle, so
Well, I mean, it's the way that they used to do storytelling. Most of classic literature, whether it's your Dickens or your Bronte or whatever, that they were released in as a serial. So I don't know if it was every week or every, you got a new chapter and you got to enjoy it. And so it's kind of fun that they're tapping in to that tradition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm gonna have to go on there and read it.
What do you have next?
The next one that I have is The Wedding Ringer, and it's by Carrie, I think it's Ray. It's Rea. And it's about a young woman who I'm just gonna say it. She finds out that her best friend and her fiance were in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So she is like anti-friend, anti-boyfriend. And like she goes into the coffee shop one day and she's like sitting there minding her business, and this woman walks in and is like, I need you to pretend to be like my best friend. And she's like, why? And she's like, my fiance is coming, just please do it. So she goes along with it, and she finds herself in this whole ordeal of now being a bridesmaid. I mean, this girl's gonna pay her like $5,000, and so much of it she gets up front. And her thing is like, she's like been working her job as like a birthday party princess, and she's been screwing that up, and she's living with her sister and her wife, and she's like, I'm just ready to get out of town. This money will definitely help me do that. So she goes along with it, and it's hard to really call this one a romance, because my favorite part of the book is their unexpected friendship. Like, just when you think you don't need a friend, you realize you do. And like, the girl is such a wonderful person, but even she has her demons, her ghosts from her past that she's running from. And the more that she tries to fight becoming friends with her, she finds herself caring about her. But there is a romance involved as well. So take that as you will, listeners. I really loved this book. And I think that there is space for like these kind of chick lit women's fic romance books that straddle that line. I thought this one was really good. So if you want some, it's sweet. There's no steam in this one. It's called The Wedding Ringer by Carrie Ray, and I think you should check it out. So
yeah, that sounds good. Sounds really good. All right, my last one was actually for book club this month. It was called Keep Moving by Maggie Smith, and it's a motivational book, I guess you'd say, that I guess it was based on her Instagram or something.
Is it like a little blue book?
I listened to it, so
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Like I have it. I feel like I have that. I'll send you a picture of what I find that I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, but it's about her dealing with loss and her divorce and how she processed all of that experience and before that, her infertility struggles, miscarriages. So it has a lot of stuff that people will be able to relate to, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's like perfectly um, a good little inspirational book. It felt somewhat generic to me. Like there was nothing about it that felt like particularly memorable or, that, wow, this is an incredible book. But it's totally harmless. And she has a lot of affirmations. And I think that was the Instagram part of it, in like motivational quotes and stuff like that. And I do like affirmations. For my job, I manage a corporate blog, and every quarter or so, I do a post on affirmations. And so it was kind of interesting to read her affirmations. But I mean, like I said, if you're looking for something, motivational, it's perfectly serviceable, I guess I would say, but nothing that I preferred the parts that were more about her experience in her life. But maybe part of it is just that I've never had children. I've never been married. I've never been divorced, so maybe somebody that had fertility problems, somebody that had been divorced, like they'd be able to maybe connect with it a little bit more. But even so, I felt like it was on the generic side, and pretty much everybody in book club agreed, that it
Okay.
was,
Looks like that. I think it's tough because we live in a world now where you can get like self-help motivational
yeah,
stuff literally everywhere. So I
yeah,
feel like if you're some publisher and you're going to sign somebody, it's like what are you really doing that's different from literally anything somebody can get on Pinterest and look up.
yeah, yeah.
So it can be
Agree.
tough. Yeah.
and it wasn't a great choice for book club because there's just not a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, okay, she had these struggles, like what do you there's no like there's not a lot of room for like discussion. So
Right.
we pretty much just talked about whatever's going on in our lives instead. So
Oh my
there you
gosh, for
go.
your book club, have you all read a Colleen Hoover book before?
I don't know. It doesn't sound familiar. What's one of her books?
Okay, so the book club that I used to be in with two of my girlfriends was we picked her book called Verity. It is a very divisive book. People either love it or they hate it. I feel like it's an homage to the old gothic romances with its
Uh,
own spin. There are things that she does in that book that totally as women is hard to read, but once you know the character of Verity, you're like, of course she would do something insane like this.
oh,
It's one of those
interesting.
things. So just saying, if you guys ever are like, what are we gonna read next? Just I don't want them to hate you because they like didn't like the book, but just saying, maybe like slide
Well,
that in there.
I'm usually the one kind of pushing the romantic selections.
Yeah. And see, that's another thing. People are like, "Oh, this is not a romance." And I'm like, "Technically, it is in a screwed up way. It is." So it
Hmm.
it gives you a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Well, the probably the biggest controversial book that we ever did on book club was Me Before You from Jojo Mice.
Oh
I
gosh.
hated it so much, and we had the most fiery debate. It was so bad and just repulsive. I mean, I was disgusted by it, and and then other people enjoyed it. So that was a good choice. I
Yeah.
mean, we had a good discussion.
Yeah. It's always like, okay, it's like what's the point of book club? Like when we had ours, like you said, it was very fiery conversations going on. And I'm like, this is why I feel like we should pick books like this because
Yeah,
it gives you something to talk about.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
The whole point. So anyway, what is your last one?
My last one is The Family You Make by Jill Shalvis, which she's one of my favorite authors. This is a new release. It's the first book in a new series by her. It's her Sunrise Cove series. And it follows a traveling nurse. You find out in the book why she prefers to travel, why she prefers not to stay in one place at, a time. But literally she's like in, is it Salt Lake? I think it's in Salt Lake. I could be wrong, but it's somewhere over there. They're on a gondola, her and this guy, and the gondola in front of them goes down. And so the first scene is them thinking they're about to die. He calls his mom and he just can't bring himself to tell her, like, I think I'm about to die. So he's just like, I just met the love of my life. I'll bring her home so you can meet her, kind of thing. And like, they don't even really know each other like that. But they end up in the same place. And he eventually convinces her, like, I really need for you to like come to my family dinner in 3 weeks, pretend that we're dating. It's all my mom wants for me in life is to like
Mm.
find love. And like slowly, but like his family is so excited that they all find ways to sneak and go meet her before she comes over. But it's a really wonderful found family romance story. She just nails like community. I don't know. I love her so much, you guys. So go pick up The Family You Make by
Mm.
Jill Shalvis. She has a crazy backlist of books that you can just like sink your teeth in afterwards. So yeah, that's The Family You Make. It's
Oh,
good.
that sounds fun. I love, a good fake relationship
Yeah.
story.
So what's our next pick, Rachel?
Yes. So this is going to be really fun. We are going to do I've Got Your Number by Sophie Kinsella. And this is a book about a woman who finds this man's cell phone, and she's trying to get the cell phone back. But and then uh, she has lost her phone because she was evacuated from the building. So she starts using his phone. And anyway, she starts to get to know him and they start communicating back and forth. It's really cute. I
Okay.
enjoyed it very much. And I love Sophie Kinsella. She's had a couple misses in the last couple books, but and the Shopaholic books kind of went too long. I stopped after the baby one.
Well, this will be my first one by her, but I read about. Did you read 20s Girl?
Yeah, I read 20s Girl. That one was pretty fun. I love The Undomestic Goddess. That's one of my favorites.
Okay.
But it is like a tiny bit spicy. I can't remember if this one is. This has been a while since I read this one, but I really enjoyed it when I read it. So hopefully, I'll
Yeah.
enjoy it now. She's really good about taking an issue like the Undomestic Goddess. It's about how we're kind of how it's about workaholism, but also about how we kind of dismiss the 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 homestead crafts, of
Yeah.
today, and don't find value. And then this woman who's like this workaholic, and she ends up through a ridiculous series of events, ends up as this housemaid. She's this lawyer. It's ridiculous, but I really like it. It's really good. Um, and she starts to realize there's value in the domestic arts. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyway,
Okay.
I love that book, and maybe we'll do it another time. But in this one, in the Shopaholic books, obviously consumerism, and shopping and materialism and things like that. So she takes like an issue, and then she crafts kind of a fun rom-com around
Around
that
it.
issue.
Ooh, I'm
And
excited.
I think she's very good at doing that and making it funny and making her heroines have a very strong voice, clear voice. And in this one, the kind of the message sort of is glued to our phones, social media, social internet dating, things like that is kind of what she's trying to talk a little bit about, while still having a fun story with good characters and writing. So
Okay. Ooh, I'm excited.
she's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. I
So
read recently I read Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and that's one of the books that they broke down, the 20s Girl one by her.
oh really?
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, I'm happy to see a Sophie Kinsella as, one of the options that you're breaking down
Yeah, I'm
here."
surprised you haven't read any of her before.
Yeah, I had 20s Girl years ago, and I never read it. I never picked it up, but I
Yeah.
do have, like, 2 of her most recent books, which now I'm a little nervous because you said they've been hit or miss, but I have, like, 2 of her recent books that were sent to me to read, so we'll see.
Yeah, what was it called? I can't even remember what our most recent one was called, but I was disappointed. It was,
Something to crash the party or something? Oh gosh, it's
oh, it
gonna
was called Love Your Life, and I just didn't like either of it. Like, it starts out fun, and then I just really didn't like either of the people that either of the in the couple or think they had any chemistry together, and I don't know. That one wasn't my favorite, but I still overall really enjoy her as a writer. Everybody has their misses, so
Okay. Yeah, I
what are you
see.
gonna
Love Your Life. I got that one. And The Party Crasher was her 2021 book that I
do?
have. So I'm a little nervous, but I'll report back.
Okay, good. Yeah, so let us know if you've read any of these books that we've talked about. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter or chat up with us. And Bree, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram. I have changed my name, y'all. It is now Bree.unabashedly. And I co-host the Categorically Romance podcast. So that's where you can find me.
Yeah. And like I said, we'll have links, affiliate links in the description to everything we talked about. So make sure you check that out. And you can find both of us on Goodreads, and you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'd love your thoughts on all of that content. And make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave us your ratings and reviews. 5 stars. It helps us so much. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We just crossed 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you very much for that. This is very exciting.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. And check out our Patreon group. We have so much fun in the Patreon group. We would really appreciate it. And then we also have our merch store, which has some fun Valentine's designs that you can take a look at. We sure appreciate that support. So thanks so much, Bree. It's always so much fun. And we'll talk to y'all next month.
Bye, everybody.
Bye everyone.